Greetings all, I'm Aaron Mills, and welcome back to Legacy of the Pink Panther, a 12-part retrospective on the films and cartoons of the Pink Panther franchise. Last time we looked at the 2006 remake of the Pink Panther, starring Steve Martin. And while it wasn't exactly great, it really wasn't terrible either, and it did make enough at the box office for MGM to justify making a sequel. Much like Revenge of the Pink Panther, I haven't really been able to dig up a lot about what caused the production of this movie, other than the fact that the last one more or less made double its budget. What is known is most of the cast returned, with the exception of Kevin Kline, which resulted in the role of Dreyfus being taken over by John Cleese. The other side of the camera also saw some changes. While Robert Simons remained the producer, Sean Levy moved to an executive producer position, with the director's chair being filled by Norwegian director Harold Zwart, director of Agent Cody Banks and One Night at McCool's. Now, these days, whenever you can't find information on a movie and how it was made, that generally tends to mean that the people involved would really rather forget the movie ever happened in the first place. Is that the case here? Well, we're going to find out as we look at The Pink Panther 2. The film opens with an international crime wave as three irreplaceable treasures are stolen: the Magna Carta from England, the Shroud of Turin from Italy, and an Imperial sword from Japan. Wait a second, is this a Carmen Sandiego crossover movie I wasn't made aware of? Why wasn't I informed of this? No, actually, the culprit is apparently a legendary thief known only as the Tornado, who leaves behind an actual calling card at each theft. Which begs a question that I'm sure every longtime Pink Panther fan asked. Namely, if you're going to have a legendary sneak thief as your adversary through this film, then why not just make it the Phantom? I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to be Sir Charles Lytton, but you could have chosen the name as an homage at least. I don't know, maybe they just felt the name Phantom was too generic and too easily confused with that Billy Zane movie from the 90s. With the tornado active again, it would seem the police agencies of the affected countries have decided to pool their resources and assemble their best detectives in an international dream team. And get used to that overused cliche because they love to say it in this movie. And of course, France has been asked to contribute Clouseau. Why?
They want Clouseau, since he is considered the top detective in the world. We have been asked if Clouseau is available to lead the dream team.
Really? He's the top detective in the world. The man who caused an international incident by trying to smuggle fast food past customs. You know what? Sure. Whatever. I'll go with it. Why not? It only took Peter Sellers' Inspector Clouseau 5 movies to gain that reputation. Why shouldn't Martin be able to do it in 1? Why not? Needless to say, this does not please Dreyfus.
Clouseau.
Because that's a common characteristic of Dreyfus, sure. Dreyfus tries to keep Clouseau off the team, saying he's put Clouseau on a more important assignment. The assignment? Traffic duty.
41 centimeters from the curb. 9 centimeters too far. 9 centimeters into the semi-black underbelly of crime.
Eventually, the driver takes off, leading into an extended slapstick sequence complete with wacky music, eventually transitioning into the obligatory animated opening titles. Everything you see in this title sequence is funnier than anything that comes in the movie after it. Speaking of which, when we return, we find Dreyfus is having new surveillance equipment installed in his office. If anyone breaks in while he's out, a crack team known as the Black Berets will swoop in to apprehend the miscreant. This serves absolutely no purpose except to repeat this gag from the first movie after Clouseau destroys the surveillance gear with a cheap spy gadget.
What is the password?
Hamburger.
Thank you, sir. Have a nice day.
The password was hamburger? No, hamburger. I said hamburger. No, you said hamburger. Hamburger? Hamburger.
After this pointless rehash, Dreyfus informs Clouseau that he's been assigned to the Dream Team. Clouseau wants to turn the assignment down because he's convinced the Tornado will go after the Pink Panther the second word gets out that he's left the country. This begins a very long and very stupid subplot where Nicole and Clouseau try to figure out their feelings for one another, complete with a flashback to a disastrous date in Rome where this happened. Here's the problem with this scene, and really with most of the rest of the movie. The slapstick in the Pink Panther films is always bordered on cartoonish, but it's always also been targeted cartoonishness. The truly implausible stuff almost always happened to Clouseau and to a lesser extent Dreyfus, and of course Clifton Slay and Jacques Umbrelli when they were in the spotlight. But as long as the really outlandish stuff only happened to those characters, it was easier to suspend our disbelief as to the possibility of survival. This was even true in the last movie. For the most part, the really ridiculous stuff happened to Clouseau and Dreyfus. The problem is, in this movie, literally everybody's a cartoon, and as such, the slapstick becomes tiresome and kind of boring and really just not funny. Anyway, aside from Nicole and Clouseau trying and failing to keep their attraction to each other a secret, the next day Ponton takes Clouseau to the airport, where another subplot is started because Ponton's wife thinks he spends too much time at work. Meanwhile, in the main plot, it turns out Clouseau was right.
The legendary Pink Panther diamond has been stolen.
Naturally, the dream team is sent to the scene of the crime, and Clouseau meets his fellow detectives, Vincenzo Brancaleone, played by Andy Garcia, Kenji Matsuzo, played by Yuki Matsuzaki, and Randall Pepperidge, played by Alfred Molina. And almost immediately, Clouseau gets into a pissing contest with the other detectives.
And will you be moving out of the Hotel Montmartre? They are doing construction at night around the Montmartre so as not to disturb daytime traffic. From your puffy eyes, I deduced you spent a sleepless night.
Speaking of traffic, are you enjoying your smart car? Your trousers are wrinkled behind the knees.
And how do you think your favorite football team, Arsenal, will do this year? That matchbox is from the only bar in Paris that shows English football telecasts.
After Clouseau destroys the only piece of glass with a fingerprint on it, the team is joined by another member who has some important background info on the tornado.
Well, we know that he's a white male between 50 and 65, with a scar from a bullet hole behind his right shoulder. In 1996, the tornado was shot right here in France while trying to steal a gold vase. Blood was found, and as a result, his DNA has been on file for over 10 years, without a match.
The woman is Sonia Salandras, a criminologist who quite literally wrote the book on the tornado, who has been asked to consult on the investigation.
Now let me bring you up to speed. We know nothing. You are now up to speed.
Yes, we know absolutely nothing, and we're about 25 minutes into this 92-minute movie. Back at police headquarters, Kenji states he found the tornado hacked into the security system from a remote location. He can track it, but it's going to take time. Meanwhile, the movie comes to a dead stop as we have to witness Clouseau talking to Mrs. Barringer, played by Lily Tomlin. Mrs. Barringer as a character is here for one purpose: to show how ludicrously politically incorrect Clouseau is.
This will be an exercise, and I want you to concentrate. And no matter what I say, I want your expression to remain neutral.
That will be easy.
You're here in the corridor at your employment, and you see a very pretty young woman walking toward you, and her blouse is tight, and it's rather bursting at the buttons. And then the pencil rolls around, and she bends again, and her undulating buttocks cause the short skirt to rise just shy of the nooks and crannies.
I like you, Mrs. Barringer.
Did the filmmakers just not have any confidence in the story they were telling? This movie already has 2 subplots and an endless stream of running gags that aren't funny when they show up the first time. And as for these scenes with Mrs. Barringer, I think that no matter where you stand on the debate over political correctness, both parties would agree that this is way too over the top to be funny in any capacity. And that's saying something when you have a scene with both Steve Martin and Lily Tomlin in it. Speaking of subplots to nowhere, Vincenzo starts putting the moves on Nicole, which causes Clouseau to get jealous.
For a man like you, she is too drab. Drab. And she is, she's disgusting.
Disgusting?
Yes, she's drab and disgusting.
Oh.
Hang on, I just realized. There is, in fact, one scene with Mrs. Barringer that is actually funny, because it's both a callback to and a call-out of one of the running gags in the original series of films.
Have we decided on lunch?
Well, I suppose you will be wanting sushi, my little yellow friend.
Inspector, we never refer to Japanese people as our little yellow friends.
Now this works because it's calling out Clouseau's casual racism from the original series of films back when you can get away with that kind of thing. It's funny, and it works. And so does the scene that follows. Too bad it's the only thing with Mrs. Barringer in this entire movie that does work. While the movie waits to let the plot get moving again, Ponton arrives at Clouseau's where he reveals his wife has kicked him out after he tried to put his foot down about his career. Clouseau agrees to let him stay, and it turns out Ponton has brought his 2 sons with him because they took his wife's side in the argument. Later, Clouseau shows one of Ponton's sons a replica of the Pink Panther he was given as a trophy by the President of France.
Is that the Pink Panther?
No, it's a replica. A copy given to me for recovering the real diamond and returning it to France.
The next day, the team tries to figure out the tornado's next move, and Clouseau rightfully points out that of the 4 items stolen, only the Pink Panther can be fenced, as it can be cut up into smaller gems so as to be unrecognizable. Kenji finally tracks where the tornado hacked into the security system, and the location is in Rome. But that's not all.
Rome. Do you know who lives in Rome? Alonso Avianeda.
The black market art dealer.
The man rumored to be the tornado's fence.
As the team takes Vincenzo's private plane to Rome, Sonia points out that it was thought for a while that Alavigneta might be the tornado, but since they don't have Alavigneta's DNA on file, they can't compare it to the blood found when the tornado was shot. But the movie doesn't care about that, and it would rather milk the jealousy subplot some more.
Perhaps a romantic disappointment. A foolish young woman who leaves a man for a younger man.
That could never happen.
But of course, what a man such as that should do is start a new romance with someone more appreciative.
Oh, it appears that Inspector Clouseau does not find Miss Solandres drab.
Drab?
It's the very word he used to describe you.
He called me drab?
And disgusting.
Disgusting?
Thank you.
The team arrives at Alavigneta's villa and are invited in by Alavigneta himself, played by Jeremy Irons. Clouseau, being Clouseau, decides to sneak around the estate, forcing the rest of the team to question Alavigneta and keep him from seeing Clouseau's antics on the security cameras.
Come, Senor Avellaneda. You expect us to believe that 2 grown men do millions of dollars of business with each other, and you never saw his face?
Perhaps I saw him once.
Did he look something like this? Or this? How about this?
Alavigneta shows the team his shoulders, which are unmarked, and this doesn't stop Clouseau from ripping off his shirt when he falls out of the fireplace. And despite this evidence, Clouseau still believes Alavigneta is guilty.
Clouseau, can't you see what's plain in front of you? Your unrelenting stubbornness is maddening.
And I'm telling you, I sense the presence of the tornado in that house.
One day they'll find me.
You're in no danger, Lawrence.
This is all very strange. I even know one of them.
You do? Which one?
You know me. Isn't it obvious?
As the team leaves, Ponton shows Clouseau a half-shredded post-it indicating that Alavigneta has a dinner appointment that night. The restaurant is, of course, the exact same one that Clouseau burned down earlier in the movie. But aside from the revelation that Alavigneta is seeing a woman behind his wife's back, there's another development.
What is she doing here? With him?
Yes, the movie is electing to waste more time on the jealousy subplot. What follows is a lengthy sequence where Clouseau, dressed in a bad matador's outfit, dances across the restaurant trying to relocate the bug from Alavigneta's table to Nicole and Vincenzo's table, and winds up burning the restaurant down again. This takes 3 minutes, and the only payoff to this entire scene is Nicole and Vincenzo finding out Clouseau was trying to spy on them. Moving on! Meanwhile, the tornado strikes again, stealing the St. Peter's ring right off the Pope's finger as he sleeps, causing outrage among the Italian people. The team is shown in to see the Pope, and Clouseau naturally tries to take charge in his usual clueless manner.
How do we know it wasn't you who stole the ring so you could collect on the enchant money?
I am the Pope.
Next is another cringeworthy sequence where Clouseau, attempting to reconstruct the night of the crime, dresses in the Pope's robes and repeatedly goes out on the balcony, making the tourists in the courtyard think the Pope is coming out to bless them. And then this happens.
Or perhaps the thief was hiding in a ledge or recess. Or perhaps he was clinging to the underside of the...
I'm not even religious, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to hell just for watching that. Clouseau's antics are naturally tarnishing the team's reputation, and while orders come down to have him removed from the team, Dreyfus elects to continue to give Clouseau enough rope to hang himself. Meanwhile, Clouseau returns home, and we get another homage to the ambush fights of days gone by as Ponton's sons attack Clouseau and pretty much wipe the floor with him. Clouseau eventually gets fed up, and this happens.
Inspector Clouseau is the consummate professional. He always exhibits grace under pressure.
Die, little piglets!
After yet another visit to Mrs. Berenger, the team has finally had enough.
It's in every newspaper all over the world. We're all being made to look like idiots. Reputations built up over a lifetime, utterly ruined.
I had to quit being a Buddhist because I feel so much hate.
Okay, that was funny. Vincenzo reveals that he found a key on the Pope's bedroom floor, right before Clouseau is informed that he's being kicked off the team. Clouseau goes looking for Nicole and encounters Sonia in her office. There's more flirting, but then Nicole walks in on them, justifiably hurt.
No, don't let me interrupt. I only have a message from Vincenzo. He wants you both at his address immediately.
Yeah, he has decided he needs my expertise.
No, sold the case.
What?
They've sold the case.
The key leads the team to an apartment belonging to one Lawrence Milliken, who is, of course, the Tornado, bullet wound and all. He has also apparently committed suicide. All the stolen items were recovered except for the Pink Panther. According to the suicide note, Milliken killed himself when he realized stealing no longer held any thrill for him, and he destroyed the Pink Panther so no one else could witness its beauty again. You hear that sound? That's the sound of the wind blowing through the holes in this story.
The Tornado was an expert on gems and their value?
Yes. In fact, Milliken was the author of the most authoritative book on the subject.
This man did not commit these crimes.
The team announces that the case is closed, with Clouseau dissenting on the record. But the DNA results come back proving that Milliken was, in fact, the Tornado. Of course, this announcement just pushes the damn jealousy subplot further. On top of that, after his wife picks up the kids, Ponton decides to go back to her and put his family first, stating he doesn't want to wind up alone like Clouseau. Clouseau is finally forced to confront his feelings about Nicole and how he thinks he's not good enough for her. But you know what? Who the hell really cares? Let's go to the gala where the rest of the team is being interviewed.
And what about the Pink Panther?
Too bad it was destroyed.
Yes, we're very sorry about that.
3 out of 4 isn't bad.
Actually, it's 4 out of 5, but who gives a shit, because this movie clearly doesn't. Clouseau is back on parking detail outside when Sonia shows up to make an appearance before she leaves that night. After she goes inside, Nicole confronts Clouseau about what he said to Vincenzo. Naturally, he comes clean to Nicole, but she doesn't know what to think. Clouseau goes to eat the food she brought him and notices Sonia's license plate, which, of course, triggers another revelation. Clouseau goes inside and gets Dreyfus's attention. Dreyfus naturally doesn't care about Clouseau's theories, but he shares them with the rest of the team anyway, who decide to treat it as an intellectual exercise.
That you are the thief.
Me?
And that you have the Pink Panther here with you.
For one thing, how could Sonia have performed the theft in Rome? We were all there together.
Actually, the rest of us were all at the bar. If you recall, Miss Solandres stayed home with a headache.
Well, that's right,
But where would you get the expertise for these crimes?
Well, she is the world's foremost authority on El Tornado. Just as a parlor game. What if she obtained this expertise directly from...
What if she were his daughter?
No, that wouldn't.
A lover?
Yes, a scorned lover.
Better. Motive.
That would explain stealing the unfensible items, to direct attention...
To El Tornado. so she can bring him out of hiding and set him up as a perpetrator.
Ah, then she could kill him, forge a note,
And keep the Pink Panther, as Clouseau said, the one fencible item.
Congratulations, gentlemen. The very diverting and amusing puzzle solved in 2 minutes.
Bravo.
As loath as I am to give this film any credit at all, I actually do like this scene. Mostly because we finally get to see these characters as the brilliant detectives that they are, without the pissing contest with Clouseau or being annoyed by his antics getting in the way. It's refreshing, and it actually shows them working out Clouseau's line of logic for themselves. Nicole demands Sonia open her purse, but when she tries to leave, Nicole prevents her from doing so, which leads to Sonia pulling a gun, proving Clouseau's theory right. Speaking of which, Clouseau comes in for the rescue.
So if you're going to shoot anyone, shoot me.
Okay.
Oh, perhaps I did not think that through.
As it turns out, Clouseau is still wearing his Medal of Honor under his jacket, which absorbed the bullet.
Not exactly. The bullet ricocheted and killed the waiter.
I stand corrected. What follows is Clouseau and the rest of the team chasing after Sonia and a bunch of annoying slapstick that only serves to make the other 3 members of the team look like complete idiots, thus undercutting the intelligence we just saw in the previous scene. Thanks, movie! Clouseau manages to get ahead of Sonia, who threatens to destroy the Pink Panther. Clouseau calls her bluff, and the gem is destroyed. Sonia makes a break for it, but is stopped by Ponton. And then we see why Clouseau felt so confident challenging her.
I knew the tornado would eventually come after the Pink Panther. So I went to the museum with a simple plan in mind. I had convinced my old friend Robert, the night guard, to turn off the security system for the few moments necessary to save the most beautiful object in France. I then switched the Pink Panther with the replica I had at home. This is the real Pink Panther. And when the tornado, an expert on the quality of gems, wrote in his supposed suicide note of its great beauty, I knew he could never have been the thief. He would have recognized it as a fake. Today, I was staring at Miss Solandre's license plate. I recognized it because of my unique system of cross-referencing. I became aware that I had given a ticket to the same car 2 days before Miss Solandre's claimed she arrived in Paris. 1 day before the Pink Panther was stolen.
And you thought the way Clouseau solved the case in the last movie was complete bullshit. There is absolutely nothing to indicate that Clouseau did any of this throughout the entire movie, aside from showing off his little black book of citations at the beginning of the film, showing the kids the replica diamond in his apartment, and asking if Milliken was an expert on gems. There's clearly footage of him putting a ticket on Sonia's car and talking to his alleged old friend at the museum, so why not insert some of that earlier in the film to set all this up? I mean, good God, slapstick comedy or no, this is just lazy storytelling. Vincenzo reveals that nothing happened between him and Nicole, and since Nicole only has eyes for Clouseau, he encourages Clouseau to just go ahead and kiss her already. Clouseau goes one further and asks Nicole to marry him, leading to the ceremony.
Do you promise to love and honor each other?
I do.
I do.
Good. So, by the powers vested in me as Chief Inspector of the 13th Arrondissement, I now declare you husband and wife.
But of course, it wouldn't be a Pink Panther film without a closing disaster.
Here's to peace and harmony.
Was my mother there?
Oh yes, absolutely. Can't you hear us screaming?
Oh, no, really?
And with that, we close the doors on the Pink Panther 2, and also, as a production of this video, on the final film in this franchise. And really, what is there to say? I originally thought I was going to hate this film because it recycled a bunch of gags from the last one, but it turns out I was misremembering. Which is a good thing because there's so much more to hate about it. Clouseau is even more unlikable in this movie, his ego running rampant all over the other characters. It doesn't matter that ultimately he's right, he's still an asshole to everyone around him, including Nicole and Ponton. Speaking of, Jean Reno might as well not even be in this movie. Ponton contributes nothing to the story, only being there to move his own subplot and the jealousy subplot along. One of the few positives I can say for the movie is Alfred Molina, Andy Garcia, and Yuki Matsuzaki make the most of what they have, with each of their characters actually being compelling and interesting, but that's damning with faint praise since the movie goes out of its way to make all three of them look like idiots on the same level of Clouseau. Even John Cleese is phoning it in here, basically playing himself than any sort of character, and Lily Tomlin is wasted on a series of half-assed gags mocking political correctness and those who police it. The solution is even more of an ass pull from this movie compared to the last one, and frankly the whole damn thing is so cartoonish and over the top that it stops being funny and is just cringeworthy through most of it. There's only about 30 minutes of plot in this movie, with the rest of it being padded out by unfunny slapstick and Clouseau being insufferable. I cannot recommend this one at all. Critics and audiences would agree with me. While this movie did succeed in making its money back, it only made $75 million against a $70 million budget. Yeah, it actually cost less money to make this movie than the last one, and it underperformed drastically. Thus, putting an end, some would say mercifully so, to this iteration of the franchise, especially if this was the direction they were going to continue going in. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that MGM is quite done with the Pink Panther yet. Rumors have been circulating on the internet since at least 2014, possibly earlier, that they were considering rebooting the franchise again, only doing it different this time. Supposedly, in this brand new film, for the first time ever, the Pink Panther character would be involved in the story in the feature film in a live-action animated hybrid. Now, supposedly this story would also involve a jewel heist, but I'm not entirely certain how that's going to work. Of course, it may be a moot point because as of right now, summer of 2017, this has yet to come to fruition. There have been no news, no rumors, nothing else beyond maybe this movie will get made. But it does allow me to segue into the final episode of this series. Next time, we will be taking a look at the Pink Panther character himself, arguably the franchise's biggest star. And we'll take a look at all the various cartoons and TV series and assorted whatnot that he's been involved in over the years. I'm Aaron Mills. Join me again next time as we conclude our look at the legacy of the Pink Panther.